What's going on, guys? Happy Thursday afternoon to you. SummerSlam 2024 is coming up in just a couple of days on Saturday, and we are here to predict the whole show. Now, I kind of juked you out a little bit. I told you on Monday that I would be releasing a recorded video of my predictions today, but after the Shane McMahon news broke yesterday, I decided to record a video on that instead and go ahead and bust out these predictions live because I'm right in the middle of a very, very busy week here. So we're going to be busting these out today, and I have been racking my brain about a lot of these matches throughout the week, and I think I finally got a handle on who I'm going to predict, but man, this is a tough card. The last two pay-per-views, I have gone perfect in my predictions, Forbidden Door and Money in the Bank. I went 15 for 15 on those two pay-per-views, I think it was, and I probably have a pretty good record dating even further back than that in terms of predictions. This one is a little tough. I went back and forth between 4 title changes and 2 title changes, and I know some people are going to retain their titles. We're going to see some swerves, some returns, things like that, trying to put it all together and balance it out with title changes, people retaining, heels winning, babyfaces winning, things like that. This was a pretty difficult one to predict, I'm not going to lie. So I would like to get your input on this as we go through here, and as you guys tell me, you know, your predictions as well and what you think might happen on Saturday. I'm looking really, really forward to it. I want to do a quick sound check here. I was about 2 minutes late coming up because right when I went to go live, you know, doing my normal process to go live, I get this notification from YouTube that says live streaming is not available. Try again. And I tried again and it's not available. I'm like, what the fuck? So I did a quick shutdown of everything, rebooted it, and we're fine. But that was a little bit nerve-wracking. I don't know what that's about. I've never seen that notification ever. But here I am. I'm live. I'm on camera. And we're ready to talk about SummerSlam. I hope you guys are having a great week so far. It is Thursday, right? Happy Thursday to you. And we will be here, like I said, this Saturday watching and reviewing SummerSlam. Now, unfortunately, I've had a really busy week. I have not posted the link to Saturday's watch party yet. I will do that tonight. So within the next 10 hours or so, you will have a link posted for SummerSlam on Saturday. That's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you're here once I post that link. Set your notifications and all that, and join us on Saturday for the big watch party. And then after SummerSlam, we'll stick around and do a review. They also might add a match perhaps tomorrow night on SmackDown. Now, we have 2 tag team title matches set for SmackDown tomorrow. As of right now, with the 3 sets of tag titles WWE has, no tag titles are on the line at SummerSlam. But 2 of them are on the line tomorrow on SmackDown, with the Bloodline taking on DIY and Jade and Bianca getting a title shot as well. So we could see 2 new tag team champions tomorrow, unless in one of these matches, particularly the women, if they do something that allows them to rebook a rematch on SummerSlam. I do believe, even though Triple H likes his small cards, I do believe there is enough room to stick another match on this show. So if they want to do that for Jade and Bianca or somebody else, great. Otherwise, it looks like we're looking at about a 7-match card here, with one more potentially being added. I got a little bit of a look at Dynamite last night because we are heading into All In there, but I did not see the whole show because I was busy last night, didn't have a chance to watch all of it, but I did see the Danielson and Swerve promo. Danielson is now putting his career on the line. It's title versus career. Some people feel that makes it obvious that Danielson is going to win. Some people feel it makes it obvious that he's going to lose. I'm not sure yet, but I thought that was an interesting stip to put on there. And one that does frighten me a little bit if Danielson does lose. Danielson, you know, saying he's going to retire, you know, if he loses this match, we know he's going to wrestle again sometime. You know, he said he wants this to be his last full-time contract, but he's also said that he's going to wrestle into his 60s and 70s if he can occasionally. So retiring doesn't seem like a real option unless Danielson understands that he's in pro wrestling, and retirements in pro wrestling don't mean anything. I feel like he might actually be winning the championship now, but we'll get more into that once I get a little bit of a better look at Dynamite and we get closer to All In, because we'll be up here doing predictions for all of that as well. Darby Allin beat Hangman Page last night, which was pretty interesting. And other than that, I saw the Tony Storm freak out promo, which was pretty fun. And I saw the MJF and Ospreay stuff, but that's about it in terms of Dynamite. But we'll be getting into a lot more AEW news later this weekend and next week as we get closer to All In. But SummerSlam is the pay-per-view that's standing in front of us right now, and that's what we are here to discuss today. So hopefully you guys are having a great one. I'll cruise to the chat real quick, say hello to everyone, and then we will get going on these predictions. I've allowed myself about an hour and a half to bust these out, but we're not going to need that long. This will probably be about an hour-long video, although a couple of these matches, I've got like 4 or 5 different scenarios for, so we'll touch on it as we go through here. It should be fun. Good to see Zayn G and King Asa and Roman Stone. We have... y'all are talking a lot in there. All right, there we go. Channel member Nick Musser, who is on his way to Cleveland. Man, I hope you enjoy it. It sounds like fun. I'll be keeping my fingers crossed. I guess it's soon enough now we can check the weather. I don't know what the weather forecast for Cleveland is for Saturday. If anybody wants to check that, let us know in the chat. I'd appreciate it. Good luck to you, Nick. I hope it is a blast. We have Rodrigo in here as well. Zach Palgett, good to see you. Ajax Johnson. We got David Brown, Ben Espinoza, Daniel Barry Sports, Dan Price. More channel members like Joshua Aparicio, Michael Cuomo, and Jacob A. Good to see you. We got JT Bonkers LFC, Sean Garner, Justin Fleming. Harry Rice is here. We got Vontae, the new one, channel member Garrett Osborne, and my boy Amado Gonzalez. What's up, dude? Good to see you. Yo, Greg just got home from hanging drywall in a $2 million house. Yeah, man, I'm doing a drywall up there at the new McDonald's. 100 degrees, Texas heat. I did make it safe to Texas. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, and you're in Texas in the summertime hanging fucking drywall. I am glad you are not deceased of heat exhaustion. Every time I see the word drywall, I think of Office Space. Yeah, I'm hanging new drywall over there at new McDonald's. I love that. Good to see you in here, Amada. Hope all is well with you. Titanium Titan is in the house as well. Well, right on. I'm ready for SummerSlam. It's going to be a party up in here on Saturday. Make sure you join us. I'm going to be kicking back. I've taken the whole weekend off for SummerSlam. I have to post also a watch-along link for Sunday. I think we're going to do SummerSlam 1996, which is a terrible pay-per-view, but it's topical because it's in Cleveland, and that's where Saturday's SummerSlam is. So we'll be watching 2024 Cleveland SummerSlam on Saturday, 1996 Cleveland SummerSlam on Sunday, and they even did like a backstage little beach party where they had like a pool and sand set up. It was so ridiculous. It did not scream summertime at all. They were indoors in a concrete, backstage area with a little portable swimming pool. It was so dumb. This year should be more fun. I'm looking forward to Saturday. Garrett says we've got scattered thunderstorms in Cleveland on Saturday. All right, so that's generally for the East Coast. Scattered thunderstorms is like every day in the summertime. You're going to have some scattered thunderstorms that could flare up. Hopefully they are just scattered, and if one does land down on Cleveland, it'll just be passing through. And worst case possible scenario, they have happened to them what happened at WrestleMania 37 in Tampa, and I don't ever want to see that again. Here we just get fans back now. A storm blows through. I remember thinking things just couldn't get any worse around that time. Samoa Joe in a poncho, the WrestleMania set being all torn to shit from the wind. It was just, I remember just feeling like wrestling was looking bleak. It felt good to have the fans back, but man, I'm much happier with where we sit right now in 2024. All right, well, I think it's time for me to start predicting this here pay-per-view. Like I said, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 matches on here. And one of these matches, because I have basically the matches written down and I have my winners picked written down. But I feel like I really have to change one somewhere because as it sits right now, I have 4 title changes. I feel like that's too much. I feel like that's too much for the Triple H era, and having 4 titles change hands, if I have to remove 1 or 2, I think I know the 2 matches I'm picking to switch up, but one of those matches that I might have to switch is the one I'm predicting first, and that is Bayley defending her WWE Women's Championship against Nia Jax. Now, we've seen what they've been doing on TV between these 2 women and their involvement with the Money in the Bank winner, Tiffany Stratton, who's been involved in this a lot. Now, also, I think it was last week on SmackDown, Nia Jax pinned Bayley. So I'm trying to take that in consideration. Now, SmackDown tomorrow has not aired yet. If Bayley has some big moment over Nia Jax where she puts her down or beats her up and stands over her body holding up the championship or whatever, or gets any sort of last word on Nia Jax, then I think that will help Nia Jax's chances winning the championship. Also, Tiffany Stratton has got that briefcase. Now, I personally believe that it's way too early to cash in that briefcase because you already burned off the men's briefcase in the first night. So if Tiffany cashes in at SummerSlam, then you got a whole nother year before a briefcase is even present on WWE. That might be a blessing for the creative team, but that leaves a briefcase, out of the, universe here for a little while, which I personally don't care about, but WWE might not want to just burn both of them off within 3 weeks or 4 weeks after the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So I don't think Tiffany Stratton is going to be doing any cashing in here, but she is involved with these two. She is involved with Bayley. Bayley even went as far as to break up and smash the briefcase a couple of weeks ago. So it feels like the story they're trying to tell you is that Tiffany Stratton is going to wind up cashing in on Bayley sometime in the future. But Nia Jax, who came back last year and has been a pleasant surprise and has been the most interesting she's ever been, you would have told me a year ago that Greg would actually hope that Nia Jax wins a world title. I would have thought you were out of your mind. But here we are. And I, kind of thought going into this match that it's very likely that Nia Jax will win the championship. A lot of fans think that it's going to be Bayley coughing it up to Tiffany Stratton at some point, and that might very well be the case. I just don't think it's going to be the case at SummerSlam, which means Bayley could retain and hang on to the belt for a little while longer before Tiffany Stratton beats her for it. But I'm sticking with my gut. I think it would be weird for me to change my opinion right now or change my prediction after being fairly confident that they would put the belt on Nia Jax. I don't know what Nia Jax does after this. She had, the run on Raw where she beat Becky Lynch but then fell short of winning the world title. I think this is a situation, since Nia Jax has actually, become a character, a strong women's wrestler that she really wasn't before. She didn't, that she wasn't that interesting. She just has a completely different vibe now. And I'm putting the belt on her if I'm WWE. And if the plan here is for Tiffany to eventually cash in, who's to say she can't? You could use this as a way to beef up Bayley's legacy. Give her a couple of runs. Have these two women swap it out a couple times. Hot potato it a little bit with these two. You used to do it back in the day. It's fine. And Nia Jax could essentially win the championship from Bayley. You could have Tiffany out there being a part of the finish, trying to come out, maybe tease a cash-in, ultimately decides not to or isn't able to or whatever happens. And then amidst the confusion, Bayley's hit with a chair or something like that, and Nia Jax beats her. Bayley, of course, is pissed. You set up a rematch, and you get a little program here going. And maybe, at Hell in the Cell, because Bayley's promo last week on SmackDown, they were touching on Nia Jax being clumsy and injuring people. So they're trying to inject, some deep personal issues here. So if this feud continues, they could do Bayley and Nia in the cell. Women's, because you're going to have to, at Hell in the Cell in October, or at Bad Blood, you would assume there's going to be a men's and women's cell match. I could be assuming that, and it's not true, but I feel like there might be. So if you do Drew and Punk in one cell from one brand, and then the other brand has a cell match of their own, and that is Nia Jax and Bayley, maybe Bayley beats her and wins back the title at Hell in the Cell. I'm just thinking out loud. So Nia Jax beats her at SummerSlam. They continue to feud. We get a big blow-off match at Hell in the Cell, Bayley and Nia Jax. Bayley beats Nia Jax, and then Tiffany comes in after Bayley is beating Nia Jax in a cell match and cashes in and wins the briefcase at Bad Blood. That's what I would do. So I'm going to stick with my prediction. I'm not going to change it, that Nia Jax beats Bayley and wins the WWE Women's Championship. That's my pick. I think Tiffany will be out there. She might tease a cash in. She might even attempt to cash in, but at the end of the day, it's not going to be officially cashed in. She will never officially hand the briefcase to the ref, and the referee makes the announcement. She'll be out there. She'll be with it. She'll tease it and the whole shebang, but nothing will wind up happening. And I think Nia Jax comes away with the championship here. So we'll see what happens. Next match I'm going to predict is Sami Zayn defending the Intercontinental Championship against Bron Breakker. This one's a little easier to predict. I feel like it's got to be Breakker. Sami Zayn beating him at Money in the Bank, I think, was a way to prolong this into SummerSlam and have Breakker win the championship there. And I feel like he's going to. I don't know why they would book this match a second time just for Sami to win the same way, take advantage of Breakker, put him down. Either way, it's been a great year for Sami. He beat Gunther at WrestleMania. Then he beat Bron Breakker at another major pay-per-view international show. For him to lose here, I don't think it's doing Sami any sort of injustice at all. I think it puts over Bron Breakker huge, and they have done a really great job of making Sami Zayn a very credible, strong babyface champion and wrestler. And he is now a pretty credible Intercontinental Champion for Bron Breakker to defeat. And I will always be a fan. Always. No matter what year it is, what era it is, or if it's a heel or babyface winning, I don't care. Whenever there is an Intercontinental title match and an Intercontinental change at SummerSlam, it takes me right back to being a kid again. Because that's what used to happen back in the day. 1988, 1989, 1990, 1991, 1992. The first 5 SummerSlams, we had an Intercontinental title change. And I have always loved Intercontinental title matches at SummerSlam, and Breakker winning the title here seems likely and seems obvious, and I'm going to predict Breakker to win the IC title. Here's one I'm not totally sure about. LA Knight challenging Logan Paul for the United States Championship. Now, Logan Paul's abysmal social media behavior today aside, I wasn't convinced that he was going to be dropping the belt here to LA Knight. I feel like LA Knight has had some opportunities to make it to the next level, and he hasn't quite got there just for whatever reason. It's crowded at the top. There's just not enough room for him in the world title mix. And this feels like a logical next step for him. Logan Paul has been United States champion since last year, right? Didn't he win it in like late 2023? So he's been US champ for a while now. We expected him to be a short-lived champion considering he's part-time. But are we really going to see 4 championship changes on the show? I don't know. I am hoping LA Knight beats Logan Paul. I'm not a huge fan of Logan Paul right now. I haven't been for a while. I have been amazed by how great he is in the ring. He seems really tailor-made to be a pro wrestler, but the guy is a fucking douchebag. But there's a lot of people who are douchebags in wrestling and who are great workers, and sometimes that is what's most important. And Logan Paul is amazing. He's it feels like when I look at Logan Paul, I've always said that he looks like somebody that has been a wrestler the whole time. I don't look at him as like a social media star, any of the stupid shit he got famous for before. He really looks like, he doesn't look like an outsider that got into wrestling. He looks like a wrestler who's been there the whole time. And that's a credit to him. But if he doesn't drop the US title here, when the hell is he going to drop it? And who is he going to drop it to? So I wasn't sure about this one. I actually was really close to predicting Logan Paul to retain the championship here. But then when I think about that, if he does that, where does that number 1 leave LA Knight? And what does that mean for Logan Paul's championship? When exactly is he going to drop that thing? Because LA Knight is a very over star. He's an over babyface. Fans love him. They still react to him very enthusiastically when he comes out. So I feel like he's got to win here. Didn't he win like a battle royal or something last year? What happened last year with him? So I feel like it's now or never. They're either going to put some gold on this guy or they're not. And if they don't do it here, I don't know what you do with LA Knight. I don't know what he does on TV after this. Even if Logan Paul cheats and hits him with knucks, I don't know what he does. Now, Logan Paul has had a couple of pinfall losses recently too, has he not? So that's one big thing that makes me nervous here about Logan Paul losing the title, is that he's already gotten pinned a couple times. So is it going to happen again? That's what gives me pause here. That's what makes me a little bit nervous. I also think that you could have LA Knight win the title, but just not here. Logan Paul cheats or does something scandalous to beat LA Knight. You get a rematch. Berlin seems like a weird place to do it. So I don't know if Bash at Berlin would necessarily work. I might just do the rematch right on SmackDown. Or, and you guys have to help me out with this. SmackDown is moving to the USA Network in September, or is it later than that? Raw goes to Netflix in 2025, but I think SmackDown leaves Fox prior to that. So if the first SmackDown on the USA Network is soon, like within the next month or so, you might book the rematch there, Logan Paul versus LA Knight on the first USA SmackDown, and do the title change there in the main event. But you also might want to save Roman and Cody and shit like that and bloodline stuff for that, so I'm not sure. So I do not have much confidence on this, but I'm going to stick with LA Knight. I think I might be wrong. I think LA Knight will win the championship from Logan Paul at some point. It might not be Saturday. There might be a way to extend, because you got to think you're going to have more than one one-on-one match between these two guys as well, right? You would think that. So you're going to get some sort of a program here. It might make more sense for Logan to survive this and then LA Knight chase him and beat him for the title than LA Knight winning the title and then Logan wants his belt back and issues a challenge. Logan might not care once he loses the belt and move on to his next distraction or something. So maybe for the purposes of the feud, it makes more sense for Logan to win. I actually kind of think it does. But what a moment, though. Well, okay, I was about to say what a moment for that audience to watch LA Knight win, but Logan Paul is from Cleveland. I'm changing my pick. Logan Paul. I think Logan Paul's going to retain the title here. Yeah, Logan Paul's going to retain, and I think LA Knight beats him for it at a later date. I got to go Logan Paul. I can't believe I'm switching my pick right in the middle, but sometimes when you think about things out loud, you're like, well, shit. And I feel like 4 title changes out of 7 matches is just a little bit much. Logan Paul to retain over LA Knight. I cannot believe I'm picking that. But yeah, I'm going to pick LA Knight to lose and Logan Paul to retain, and then they'll book a rematch. I would do it on the first SmackDown on USA and have LA Knight win there. Big TV moment. You know, winning on a milestone SmackDown, you know, on your season premiere of SmackDown in the main event on television might be better than the third match on SummerSlam, you know? So I think I'm going Los Angeles Knight to lose to Logan Paul. Okay, Andy, thank you. September 13th. Oh, that's my grandfather's birthday. My grandfather and I guess this year, he'd probably be like 115 or something like that if he was alive today. But when I was a kid, we used to celebrate our birthdays together. I was the 6th. He was the 13th. Happy birthday, Grandpa Joe. So September 13th will be, I guess, the first SmackDown on the USA Network. And granted, that is a month away, but Logan Paul's part-time. Logan Paul comes away with a victory here. He can just disappear off TV for 3 weeks while LA Knight calls him out on TV repeatedly. Logan Paul, you used brass knuckles, or you had Mr. Cleveland, or what? He's got a friend with him or something. And some sort of interference on Logan's behalf, allowing him to win the title. LA Knight can come out and cut promos on Logan every week on SmackDown, challenging him. Finally, Logan Paul accepts the challenge. They book it for the first SmackDown on USA. That's when Logan Paul wins the title. And you could have that be the main event. Whatever you're going to do with Cody and Roman and the Bloodline or anything like that night, open the show with it. Big, huge, gigantic Bloodline, Cody, Roman segment. Open the show. Logan Paul, LA Knight closes it with Logan Paul losing the US title to LA Knight. That's what I would do. So I'm picking Logan Paul to defeat LA Knight. Or maybe not necessarily defeat him, retain his title. You could have LA Knight win via DQ, setting up your rematch that way as well. Plenty of ways to do that. But I think Logan's going to walk out with the championship. All right, next match, it is, I think it's Liv and Rhea. Yeah, it is Liv Morgan defending her Women's World Championship against the returning Rhea Ripley, the very angry Rhea Ripley who has been coming after Liv tried to steal her boyfriend, and she did steal her championship, and she put her on the shelf for a while. We were all expecting when that went down for Rhea just to, for Liv just to be kind of a placeholder and hold the championship until Rhea comes back and murders her. Problem is, that's a little bit predictable, and there's a lot more going on in this feud and this angle than just that. While Rhea was on the shelf, Liv Morgan was being very scandalous, and she was trying to steal away Dominic, as we know. She was helping Finn Balor and JD win the tag team championships. It feels like Judgment Day is headed for a split right down the middle of the group here. We know that Balor is going to be turning. And, on Monday night, we saw a lot of great stuff. We saw the great Well, a week ago, we saw Dominic tell off Liv Morgan, and I speculated that the two of them are in cahoots. This is just an act to throw Rhea Ripley off so Dom can turn on her. I might be wrong about all this. I was pretty adamant that no, Liv and Dom, they're in cahoots here. This whole thing is just an act, but it might not be. It might have something more to do. Dominic might actually literally be telling the truth here that, he never did want anything to do with Liv Morgan. And it might turn out to be Finn Balor behind some of this stuff, because this past Monday we saw Liv Morgan, the segment with the tears in her eyes where she is burning all of Dominic's stuff and, crying and acting all crazy. The Judgment Day's clubhouse was all torn to shit. And I speculated that it was Dom and Liv doing that themselves. Show us the GTV footage or the security footage. This is a perfect time for GTV to make a comeback and show us that it was Dominic and Liv Morgan vandalizing Dominic's own clubhouse. But as somebody pointed out on Raw on Monday, they spray painted shit, they tipped stuff over, they just destroyed everything. They destroyed the PlayStation and all that stuff. But Finn Balor's stuff was left all nice and neat and wasn't damaged at all. So Finn Balor could be in on this, or Liv Morgan vandalized everything but left Finn's shit alone, or Finn Balor himself did this, and Finn has been pulling a lot of these strings to manipulate Dominic and whatnot. It could go a lot of different ways. So I was under the assumption that when Liv and Rhea Ripley have their match, Dominic is going to turn, help Liv Morgan beat Rhea Ripley. I feel like that is still what they should do. Dominic needs to be a heel. He doesn't need to be turning face in all of this. I think Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest are both going to lose things on Saturday, but are going to be coming away from this as the two baby faces in the group. And I think maybe Finn Balor tries to lead Judgment Day or something. And somebody brought up an interesting thing that they could do. It might have been Ibu of WrestlePierce. I can't remember who tweeted this, but it was a good idea that maybe Damian Priest could somehow jump to the LWO and lead that group or something. So we could see a major shakeup. Like I said on Monday, I think Monday was the last time we're going to see Judgment Day in its current form. There's going to be some changes after this weekend. So with Rhea and Liv, I feel like Dominic is going to 100% cost Rhea Ripley the match. That I know for sure. That I'm confident about. I don't want to say I know for sure, but I'm confident that Dominic will cost Rhea Ripley the match, and Liv Morgan will win and retain her championship. The question is, does Dominic cost Rhea the match on purpose or inadvertently? So this is where it's going to tell us if Dom is innocent or not. Now, I'm hoping that he does it purposely, because if he does it purposely, he joins with Liv. He can continue being a heel, and Ripley can go off and be, the baby face that most fans want her to be, that she pretty much already is. So her being with Dom at this point doesn't make much sense. And at the beginning of Rhea and Dom's relationship, it always felt like Rhea Ripley truly deep down didn't care about him, was more using him or manipulating him. But as the last 2 years have went by, she does seem to be really into him and be very possessive of him. So I think it's ironic that when we talked 2 years ago, like when they first showed up at Rey Mysterio's house at Thanksgiving and beat the shit out of him in his den, back then you would think eventually Rhea is going to, break Dominic's heart or something like that, and Rey is going to have to be there to lift his son up, and his son's being manipulated by, Rhea Ripley. But, things have kind of turned now, and Dominic is so fun to watch as a heel. The reaction that he gets from the crowd when he tries to talk, I don't want any of that to go away yet. He's not to the point in his heel run where I'm like, okay, I want to see this guy be a face now. No, I'm going to continue seeing Dominic be the sniveling little twerp that he is, with his spicy ketchup and all that. I love that Dominic. So I ain't ready to see that Dominic go away. If Dominic aligns with Liv Morgan, I feel like he will remain largely the same who he is. And now he's going to have a woman with him who is definitely crazy, but might be a little bit nicer to him than Rhea Ripley had been. Rhea Ripley, doesn't take any of Dominic's shit either. She makes him answer for his crimes and whatnot. And he's in the doghouse a lot, where Liv Morgan, right now she seems like she's heartbroken, but I'm hoping all of this is an act. I'm hoping her burning all the stuff and the tears streaming down her face and Dominic chewing her out on the microphone, bringing her to tears, and she runs off. My gut instinct was telling me that whole thing was an act because Liv Morgan's character, who she's trying to be, she's out for revenge against Rhea Ripley, and she wants to take things that belong to Rhea Ripley away from her. And one of those things is a very prized possession of Rhea Ripley's, Dominic Mysterio. Liv Morgan seems more intent on hurting Rhea and taking what Rhea loves away from her than actually caring about those things that Rhea Ripley loves. So it seems weird to me that Liv Morgan's character would be so heartbroken by Dominic. The only reason she's going after Dominic is to hurt Ripley. So why would Liv Morgan cry and be heartbroken to that degree that Dominic, I don't know, broke up with her or said he didn't want anything to do with her? That really shouldn't make her sad and heartbroken. That should piss her off. So that's why I feel it's got to be an act. It doesn't make sense for Liv Morgan's character to be that heartbroken over Dominic. There hasn't been enough time to fall for him to be heartbroken to that degree. You haven't even been dating. You've been hanging around with him on TV for 4 weeks or maybe longer than that, maybe 8 weeks, whatever it's been. It hasn't been very long. And your whole relationship has been weird. So that performance felt like just that. It felt like a performance. And we are going to get, I don't know why I'm thinking of this, but back in Armageddon 1999, right? It was the Vince McMahon and Triple H match when Stephanie turned heel. And it was that smile. Remember that? Like, that's what made the whole moment. It was after the whole thing had gone down. Triple H is on one side of the ring. Stephanie is on the other. And she just gives that little Stephanie smile. And she just embraces with Triple H. And it was just that moment. And I could see Liv and Dom after Rhea Ripley loses. And Dom can pretend that it's all on accident maybe or something. And he's standing in the ring and he's got his hands over his head. Oh my God, what did I do? What did I do? And he looks over at Liv Morgan. And they both smile and they come together and just make out right over Rhea Ripley's body. That's what you do, because think about where that takes you. If Rhea Ripley wins the belt back on Saturday, where do you go from there? But if Liv Morgan retains with help from Dominic and Liv are making out like Vince and Trish in front of Linda, holy shit, man. That's what you do. So I really, really hope that I'm right about my suspicions and that Liv Morgan's meltdown was nothing but an act, and her and Dominic are in cahoots, and Rhea Ripley gets screwed, and Rhea and Damian Priest, might kind of be on their own out of the Judgment Day and having to find new paths to go in. We will see how that all works or how either one of these two fit into the Judgment Day post SummerSlam. Now, Monday, the post-SummerSlam Raw is going to be on Sci-Fi again. So hopefully WWE doesn't feel like they can't give us any big angles on Sci-Fi. And if we're going to have any major fallout, we still get that. And they don't prolong it a week. But they might. They might have Rhea Ripley take a week off to lick her wounds and then come back the following Monday out for blood. Not really sure, but it's got to be Liv. That's the one match I'm the most confident on. And think about that. That's how great WWE is. Rhea Ripley is one of the most dominant women we've seen. She is super over. She's over with non-wrestling fans. People who don't even watch wrestling know who she is from TikTok because she's so stupidly smoking fucking hot. So she is dominant. Everybody loves her. She's on top of the world. Top women's wrestler in the world right now, I believe, in terms of overall, attention and whatnot. And she's the underdog. She's the underdog. Liv Morgan's going to beat her. She's absolutely going to beat her. So it's going to be fun to watch that unfold. And hopefully we get a big swerve, a big angle in that match. Looking forward to Rhea and Liv. All right. Speaking of the Judgment Day, let's move on to Damian Priest and Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. I mentioned on Monday that I've believed ever since prior to King of the Ring, the moment that Gunther said, I declare for the King of the Ring, I said, there's your winner. And then when Triple H announced that the winner of the King of the Ring gets a title shot at SummerSlam, there's your world champion. I have never even considered another option other than that. Then Gunther will win the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam. That's the place to do it. And I wasn't sure about how good or interesting the match with Damian Priest would be. I even suggested maybe injecting Seth Rollins into the mix to maybe make the match a little bit more exciting, but I take all that back. I've really liked the build that they've done on TV between these two guys. The various promos, the few moments of physicality, and then what we saw this past Monday on Raw. I've liked it, and it's made it feel like more of an even battle. I like to see Priest slowly, just become a babyface just because that he's a champion who carries the championship with respect and has respect. And he's made it to the point where I wouldn't feel like as a fan that it wouldn't be believable if he beat him. Like if he just straight beat up Gunther clean, I believe in Priest enough as a champion to where I wouldn't question that. I still think Gunther's got to be the man here though. You could do something here and prolong this match to Bash at Berlin. Absolutely. You could have Balor come out or something like that and have Gunther. I don't know if you want to get Gunther screwed because Damian Priest is virtually a babyface now, but you could have a way for Priest to retain here. You book the rematch for Bash at Berlin where it would be guaranteed to be the main event and Gunther wins there, but that feels a little bit weird, even though Gunther would be in, probably treated and regarded like a babyface there in Berlin. He's going up against a guy that WWE's recently turning babyface, and you're going to flip the script just for that one match that might put speed bumps in front of your momentum there of Priest is my only thought. So I think that Priest and Gunther could absolutely happen at Bash at Berlin, but I think it's got to be Gunther defending. I don't know. I just don't know in this particular case with Gunther and the strength and type of wrestler he is and the way Triple H presents him. He's not like a normal guy. If this is a normal feud, if Drew McIntyre or Seth Rollins was the world champion right now, I would say, oh yeah, you could just prolong it one more month and just figure out some goofy finish here. This is Gunther we're talking about. And I think that you don't need to add too many shenanigans to this match. Now, what I do think is possible is that Finn Balor could get involved here, or Finn Balor could just straight up cost Damian Priest the championship. Or, he waits and Priest just loses to Gunther. He licks his wounds. Judgment Day is still intact, albeit, very shaky. And then at Bash at Berlin, that's when Balor turns on Priest there. Maybe, but that's looking way ahead. I think Gunther needs to win the championship here from Damian Priest, even though I like Damian Priest a lot. I feel like the story they're telling is here for Gunther to win and Priest to have some, internal issues and battles here with Judgment Day. So I'm picking Gunther to beat Damian Priest and win the World Heavyweight Championship. We'll see. I know Ludwig Kaiser got hurt, so I don't know if he'll be, coming back or showing up in this match. And I'm sure Priest will want to go it alone against Gunther, but that doesn't mean that the Judgment Day is going to stay completely out of this. We will see what happens, but I got to go Gunther. And I'm interested to know, too, because we do have a lot of championship matches on the show. The only match that is not for a championship is Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. So, and you have two world championship matches, 4 really, men and women. Something big is going to have to open the show. I might open with Priest and Gunther. I might. I feel like, what would open the show here? It's not going to be Cody and Solo. I think that's going to be the main event. If it's Drew and Punk, I'll shit myself. I don't think that needs to be the opener either. I would put Priest and Gunther first, or maybe LA Knight and Logan Paul first. No, not if Logan Paul's going to win. I might go Gunther and Priest first. We'll see. I guess it doesn't matter. But match order could play a role in this as well, in terms of who's going to win and whatnot. But I don't know how you don't put over Gunther. He's, one of my favorites right now, and I want to see this guy have a world championship run. So Gunther it is in that match. All right, here's, I guess, what's going to be the semi-main. Drew McIntyre one-on-one with CM Punk with Seth Rollins as the special guest referee. Now, there's really no stipulations in this match, but I guess with Seth being the ref, you really don't need them. Rollins said on Monday when he gave his instructions that, there's really no rules other than just respect what I tell you or whatnot. So it sounds like hitting somebody with a chair isn't going to get you disqualified in a match like this. And I think this is the most intriguing and interesting match on the show. It's the one I'm looking the most forward to. And we really took a long time on Monday night during the Raw review dissecting this one. And basically my thoughts on this, with Seth Rollins being involved in this in the special referee, and I talked about how I don't even think he's needed here at all. Now, granted, he does have issues with Drew and Punk, but this rivalry is so personal that I don't need Seth Rollins in the middle of this issue wearing a referee blouse, and it just doesn't match up with the personal issue, how personal and the bracelet and all that stuff is between these two guys. And then you got, fucking RuPaul in here as the referee. And it just is kind of weird, right? But I've maintained, and I talked about this extensively on Monday, that Seth Rollins will be involved in the finish, and whoever loses this match will blame Seth and face Seth at Bash at Berlin. And then McIntyre and Punk will blow off their issue in the cell at Bad Blood. That's my feeling on this. I feel like the one good thing about Seth Rollins being the referee here is that you now can protect these guys. It does not matter who wins, because Rollins is there to be involved in the finish, to give you an opening for a rematch to where both guys are protected and neither one really needs to get beat by the other clean in a situation like this. And so on Monday, I kind of looked at both sides. Okay, you could have Punk win and then Drew blame Seth, or Drew win and then Punk blame Seth, and you do Punk and Seth at Bash at Berlin. But I feel like Punk and Rollins wouldn't be suitable for Bash at Berlin. That's a match and kind of like a program that I want to see on its own after Punk and McIntyre are done. Where if they do it at Bash at Berlin, you're going to get a Punk and Seth match, something that we've wanted and been waiting for, but you're going to get that in the middle of your Drew McIntyre and CM Punk feud. So my idea of Seth being involved in the finish and the loser blaming him works better if Drew McIntyre loses. And then Seth does something to screw up, and then we get another match between Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre at Bash at Berlin. Don't forget, Drew beat Seth for the title at WrestleMania. So now at Bash at Berlin, it's Seth Rollins versus Drew. You can have CM Punk interfere there and cost Drew the match somehow. And now Drew is lost to Punk at SummerSlam and to Rollins at Bash at Berlin. He is now pissed and demands a Hell in the Cell match with CM Punk at Bad Blood, which he wins. That way it's all balanced out. Everybody gets a win or whatnot. And then after that, you can move into Seth Rollins and CM Punk. And hell, maybe that can be your WrestleMania match next year. So I think like doing Punk and Seth at Bash at Berlin would just be too quick, and it would be in the middle. Those two together deserve their own thing. You know what I mean? So we can get teases of it here, but the full-blown program, I think, personally should come later. Let me know if you agree with that or not. So for the purposes of that, and being that this SummerSlam will be CM Punk's first televised singles match in WWE since 2014, or maybe in 13, depending on the last time he wrestled on TV live. So we're talking almost 11 years. Plus, McIntyre has got that bracelet. That's going to come into play during the match at some point. We are going to talk about, during the match at some point, they are going to do the spot with a bracelet. Something's going to come up there with the bracelet, some spot, some moment in the match. Maybe even Punk is just hell-bent on retrieving that. He might lose the match, but get the bracelet, and at the end of the day, that's all he really wanted. But I think it would be more fun for them to have some big dramatic moment there with the bracelet. You know, maybe I can't believe this thing hasn't been broke apart, and I can't believe that Drew hasn't done that yet. He's taunting him with it. So maybe during the match, he just breaks it up, and then that sends Punk into a rage, and he goes fucking apeshit. But whatever they do in the finish here, I just feel like it's got to be Rollins. So Rollins is going to have issues with both guys. They're both going to get in his face. There's going to be pushing. There's going to be shoving. Rollins is either going to eat a Claymore by mistake, or He's going to eat a knee strike from CM Punk. If either guy start fighting with the referee, then that's going to just cause a DQ and a schmaz, and I don't think we want to see that. You've got a special referee in this match, which means you have an opportunity to pin one of these guys, while still protecting him, because Seth can just be involved in the finish. So what you just have to do is just have some big incident between the three of them here right at the finish, and then maybe Rollins just gets pissed at Drew and he stomps him, and Punk pins him for the win or something. I don't know. I just know or feel that Rollins is absolutely going to be involved in the finish here. And I feel like the winner in terms of the future and what you do next would make more sense if it was CM Punk. First match on TV, singles match in 14 years. And you're going to beat him? Plus McIntyre's been dangling that very personal bracelet. I think those things combined with Rollins being the referee translates to a Punk victory here. And then at some point down the road, most likely at Bad Blood, most likely in the Hell in the Cell, when you have a type of match that will blow off this feud officially with no Seth Rollins or no outside crap, that's where you have Drew get the win. When it's just a one-on-one straight-up fight. Because inside of a cell, I feel like it would make less sense for McIntyre to win here and then Punk win the cell. Because in the cell, you would think that's just mano-a-mano, right? So if it's mano-a-mano, I feel like that's got to be Drew's match to win. So Punk wins here. Drew blames Seth. Seth and Drew face at Bash at Berlin. Punk might show up there and repay the favor to Seth Rollins, right? If Rollins was kind of the reason that McIntyre lost to Punk, maybe Punk shows up and helps Seth beat Drew, and then maybe that pisses Seth off. I didn't want your help, Punk. I didn't need your help beating him, or whatever. And then McIntyre, now fed up with Punk. All this interference, you've screwed me over. You've screwed me out of the championship 3 times. Now you show up in Berlin. You've showed up on 3 different countries, screwing me out of matches. My title 3 times, and you show up in Scotland. Now you show up at Berlin. That's it. I want you in a match to where nobody can get away or get in. Light bulb. Hell in the Cell, October 5th, Bad Blood, me and you, and that's where you do it. And by that point, maybe you've completed the double turn, and CM Punk is, now more leaning towards being a heel, which would make it a lot easier for him just to get annihilated and beat clean in that Hell in the Cell. Which then, they should do this. I'm telling you, they should do a callback to 1997 and put a title shot on the line in the Punk and Drew McIntyre match. Winner of the Hell in the Cell gets a championship match against Gunther at Survivor Series. And that's when Drew wins. And maybe he even wins the title, beating Gunther at SummerSlam or Survivor Series. Now, that would be a short run for Gunther. Someone like him holding the belt for 3 or 4 months seems unlikely, but that could be what you do. Or, who do you think Gunther, if Gunther wins the title at SummerSlam, he's probably going to be defending it at WrestleMania. I can't see him losing it before then. I mean, maybe at Survivor Series seems unlikely, but if he takes the belt into WrestleMania next year, who does he face? Could be Drew. Maybe Drew wins the Chamber or something. And then 1 year later, 1 year after winning the title and then losing it to Damian Priest when Punk screwed him over, Drew McIntyre gets the moment and actually wins the championship and nobody cashes in on him. Maybe it's Punk that you could stretch it out to that. I'm just thinking out loud here. Maybe it's Punk that beats Drew in the cell and Punk somehow gets his hands on the World Heavyweight Championship and then he drops it to Drew at Mania. Who knows? That doesn't sound like a good scenario to me, but there's a lot you could do here. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go CM Punk beating Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam. I thought over the past few weeks, my pick was going to be Drew here, but I think it makes the most sense once I thought about the future, where you could go, okay, here's what happens if Punk wins, you can go down this road. If Drew wins, you go down this road. I feel like the road with Punk winning seems like a more fun road to take than going the other way around. But I feel like with Seth Rollins as the referee in a match like this, you could do it either way. If I turn out to be wrong and Drew McIntyre wins, you can still do it that way and it all works. That's the beauty of this match. Rollins, even though I think, his frilly little referee outfit is going to be really out of place in a blood feud like this, his involvement does allow you to protect your loser here, and that's what I expect them to do. So Punk gets the win over McIntyre. And that leaves us with what I believe will be the main event. Cody Rhodes defending the WWE Championship against Solo Sikoa. You know, the bloodline is going to be out there around. Cody, I feel like, is going to have to go this alone, although I feel like with, Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, we could see them all show up here. We could see a lot happen in this match. We could see the bloodline with some gold by the time we get to Saturday. They could win the tag team titles tomorrow on SmackDown. So Cody is going to be in an uphill battle here. We have been speculating for a while now that Roman Reigns will return at SummerSlam. And Roman Reigns will return to confront Solo Sikoa. Well, how does he do that if Solo Sikoa loses the match? It would make sense if Solo won the championship and he's celebrating, and then out comes Roman for the big confrontation. Hey, asshole, tribal chief, that's my Ulafala, that's my belt, get the hell out of here. But how's that going to work? Nobody's really expecting Solo Sikoa to win the championship. So if Cody beats Solo, then we're assuming that the bloodline will then swarm. They'll be attacking Cody. Cody will have won the match, but the bloodline is just decimating him. And that's when Roman returns. That's a very, very likely scenario here. Absolutely a very likely scenario. But what would be more fun is if Cody is facing Solo and the bloodline numbers game is just too much. Cody is, fighting off a lot of dudes here. I don't know. Have they added any stipulation here where the bloodline can't be at ringside? I don't think any such stipulation exists, right? So if you got you got Jacob and you got the Tongans out there, maybe you even have a Hikuleo debuting or something like that. Hopefully not. You can probably hold off on that. But if Cody is like battling all these bloodline members, the announcers can be freaking out. This is fucking bullshit. Cody it's 6-on-1 or it's 5-on-1. This shouldn't be happening. And then Graves can be like, where the hell is Randy Orton and Kevin Owens? And then there's a camera shot to the back with how they drive a forklift in front of the door of the locker room or something. So maybe KO and Randy Orton are barricaded off and Cody has got no help out there. And Solo is just beating him down in the ring. And then maybe there's a ref bump or something like that. And you got all the bloodline members in there attacking Cody. It's clear that he's going to be screwed here if he doesn't get some help. And then Roman Reigns' music hits and he comes out and he helps Cody Rhodes. He fights off the bloodline or at least stands them down. Maybe he doesn't get all physical or anything, but if he comes out there and he's got Paul Heyman marching with him, the bloodline seeing him is going to stop them in their tracks right there. So the beating of Cody will stop. They're not going to continue beating down Cody while Roman Reigns is walking down to the ring. They're going to be like, holy shit, we could be in some trouble here. So Roman is going to come out. Everybody's going to stand still. And that's when he either makes his intentions known, just straight up attacks them, or backs them off enough to where Cody can isolate and single out Solo Sikoa, hit him with his crossroads, and retain the championship. Roman might not even have to get physical. Cody can beat Solo. Solo and the rest of the bloodline leave, surprised that Roman is back. Roman and Cody, they might not even, if they're in the ring together, maybe just a little bit of a nod or a nod of respect, not necessarily a handshake or a hug. Roman just came out there to confront the bloodline. Cody just happened to be there, and just a little look between the two. Our issue isn't completely over either, but for right now, I got no problem with you, Mr. Rhodes. And same goes for Cody and Roman. And that begins, the bloodline civil war. And since Roman is undrafted, that means he can go to Raw and recruit Jey Uso and possibly Sami Zayn if they ever want to get that War Games match done. So I would prefer as a fan, even though I think, Cody winning, the bloodline beating him down, Roman coming out to confront them sounds great. I think it would be more great and more fun if Roman came out and actually helped Cody Rhodes. Not even necessarily in a run-in and fighting off all the heels. You could do that. But Roman's presence should be enough to pull them off of Cody, because they're going to be all looking at Roman. Holy shit, Roman's here. So Roman just coming out, making his presence known, locking eyes with Solo Sikoa. Paul Heyman, now he's clean shaven. His eyes are clear. He looks good. He doesn't look like a hot fucking mess anymore. And he's standing there confident. It's like, you boys done fucked up now. And Roman just being there is enough to back off the bloodline. And then Cody is able to then capitalize on that, getting Solo from behind, hitting him with a crossroads, just of course as the referee miraculously comes to and hits the 1, 2, 3. Cody wins, and he has the look on his face like, and the story they tell is Cody would not have won that match had Roman not come out there and backed off the hounds from Cody's carcass, because it was a 4-on-1, 5-on-1 battle, whatever it is, how many ever bloodline guys there are now. They're all going to be against Cody. So I think it would just be more fun if the bloodline just swarms Cody. He's got no help. Or maybe if help does show up, I mentioned the forklift in front of the dressing room door, but you could have Owens and Orton, come out there and then get beat down. Numbers game catches up to them and they get annihilated, and the bloodline just continues to, have the numbers game here on Cody. And that's when Roman comes out. So I feel like, number one, Cody is going to retain the title. I'm very confident about that. If Solo Sikoa wins the championship, I will change my name to Mordecai and go live in the woods, because I don't want to see that happen. I like Solo. I don't even hate the new bloodline, but they're definitely Dollar Tree bloodline. Solo does not come off as someone who's going to beat WWE's top star. Even with all the interference in the world, it would be a weird decision to put the belt on Solo. It would feel like something WCW would do in the 90s when Hogan was there, so that could open up the door for him to win his belt back. So I can't see Solo winning unless the sole point is for Solo to win so he can pass it right back to Roman Reigns. That would be dumb. So Cody's got to win all the way here, and I think a nice little moment of some kind, even if it's just a look or as much of a handshake, or maybe it's a fight or something. Who's to say Cody and Roman don't start brawling after all this is done? They might look at each other. Fans are going to think they're going to shake hands, and then they just start brawling. That could happen too. We don't really know. But I think the last thing we see at SummerSlam on Saturday should be an image of Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. And if they really want to get nuts, you bring out The Rock. You bring out The Rock, and Rock's a part of this too. That could happen, I suppose. I think it would be cool if it did. But in terms of the match and who wins, Cody Rhodes beats Solo Sikoa. So, just to recap, Nia Jax wins the WWE Women's title from Bayley. Bron Breakker wins the Intercontinental Championship from Sami Zayn. Logan Paul, in an upset, retains his U.S. title over LA Knight to drop it to him another day. Liv Morgan defeats Rhea Ripley, I believe with help from Dominic Mysterio. Gunther beats Damian Priest to become the new World Heavyweight Champion. CM Punk beats Drew McIntyre. Seth Rollins will be involved in the finish, and the loser of this match will blame Seth Rollins and face him at Bash at Berlin. And Cody Rhodes will defeat Solo Sikoa to retain the WWE Championship. I believe that Roman Reigns will have a presence in this match and probably come out at the end, but I think Cody will walk out of Cleveland still your WWE champion. So there you go. There is your SummerSlam predictions in a nutshell, and we got that done in just an hour. That's pretty surprising. Let's talk to the chat. You guys, I'm sure, have got some stuff to say. I got super chats to answer and whatnot. I think a super chat or two came in before this one from Juliet, but I want to answer it now because I see it. Thanks for the $10. Sorry I was late. Did you already talk about the meeting between Shane McMahon and TK? Also, thoughts on Survivor Series and in Vancouver? Yes, it's official. Yes, Juliet, I released an entire mic drop on the Shane McMahon and Tony Khan meeting yesterday. That's available on the channel right now. I popped in yesterday. I was going to record SummerSlam predictions yesterday. That was my plan prior to going to work. But when the Shane news broke and we got that picture leaked, I'm like, okay, I'm going to record some comments on that, and then I'm going to switch today's predictions video to a live stream. So I had to change up the schedule because of that Shane McMahon and Tony Khan news. And yes, I did hear Survivor Series is in Vancouver, and I am so relieved. I didn't want it to be in LA. I didn't want the pressure of having to go. I'm trying to go to WrestleMania next year, real busy life right now. And so if Survivor Series was just up the road for me in LA, I would have felt obligated to go, and it would have just been another obstacle I don't want to deal with right now. So I'm actually happy that Survivor Series will be in Vancouver, so that's where I guess the Bloodline Civil War will take place, north of the border, another international show. Vancouver getting a Survivor Series. How many Survivor Series have we had in Canada? I mean, Montreal, obviously. How many others other than 97? There's probably been others. I've lost track of where they all were in like the 2010s and stuff. But I'm sure it's more than 2, but probably not a ton. So good for Vancouver. Very happy for them. Also, the Juliet, you gifted out a membership to Bonkers LFC. We like Bonkers. I see Bonkers' name in here sometimes, and I'm glad you memberized him. Appreciate that. Yeah, oh, good point, Bonkers. Finn, Liv, JD, don't know where Carlito goes. Carlito, was he a spite hire? Like, did they bring him in purposely to not do anything with him because of the way he left last time? I even remember when he was inducting his dad into the Hall of Fame. And he was already gone from the company by that point, but he came back in to be part of that induction. He dropped some little joke in the induction about WWE's, fucked up creative process. And I always wondered if that, he just seemed like he had a really bad experience there and he didn't really appreciate his time there. So when he came back at Backlash, had that great pop, we wanted to see him back, but they brought him back just to be less than a background player. I mean, he doesn't do anything. He's treated like a joke. He loses every match. I don't know where he winds up. He might have no home. They might just keep him off TV and release him when his contract is up. That's the way it feels like to me. Earlier on, we had a $5 super drop from Dan Price. Thank you for that, man. Drawing comic pages and listening to good mic work live. Good times. Looking forward to SummerSlam. I might be in the market for a couple of new logos for some ideas I have, Dan. Maybe we'll talk. I think you've done some stuff for me in the past. Good luck with your work today, and I'm glad you are listening to us. All right, I think that's good for the Super Chats, the recent ones that I missed there. See what else you guys have to say about some of these matches that I predicted. A Montez Ford and Logan Paul match would be crazy. Yes, it would. That would be fun to get in the future. At some point, Jacob Fatu should squash Logan. That would be a fun match too. Jacob Fatu and Logan Paul. That's what's crazy and good about Logan Paul is that the dude is a worker. He can work and you can fantasize about him having matches with dudes and think about how good it would be. He's an athlete. I'm not taking that away from him. I just think he's a douche. He's damn good in the ring, and he's fit into wrestling like a glove. Or wrestling fit him like a glove. Yeah, we're going to see KSI or Speed showing up, I think. And a lot of people do believe Logan Paul will lose. I'm in the minority, I think, of people that are picking Logan Paul to win because I just had too many championship changes. I don't think we're going to see 4 titles change hands at SummerSlam. I'm not saying we can't. It's not against some WWE rule. It just seems like a lot. It's a 7-match card, 4 title changes. It's a lot to process. And I think Triple H kind of likes to take things a little bit slower than that. That's why I kind of backed off one of those matches. And I feel like it might be more fun to have Logan Paul win at SummerSlam by cheating. He is in his hometown, so you get a friend or two, or you get somebody to help him out beat LA Knight. Then you save the rematch for the first SmackDown on the USA Network, and you put that match in the main event and have LA Knight win the title there. That would be more fun in my mind. But we'll see. Yeah, and Liv Morgan, that's why I do think Roman brings up a good point too, that I could be wrong about my belief that Liv Morgan's heartbreak is just an act and that her and Dominic are in cahoots. I could be only half right about that. Her whole performance could be an act, but Dominic has nothing to do with it. It could be Finn Balor. So Balor and Liv could be the ones to turn out to be in cahoots here. Especially if Balor comes out and helps, Liv win or whatever. But I just still think it's got to be Dominic. And I think it would be way more fun if Liv and Dominic lip locked over Rhea Ripley's body. But there is evidence that Balor, is the one behind it. And I've speculated that GTV could show the footage of Dominic and Liv Morgan vandalizing the clubhouse. It probably was Finn Balor, since none of his shit was messed with. Although I also feel like that would be obvious. He would be almost leaving a clue as to who it was if his stuff wasn't bothered. It would make more sense if it was Liv Morgan, tearing it up. Yeah, and JT's right. Finn's been helping Liv all along. He even directed Dominic in Liv's direction, a week or two ago on Raw, when they're like looking for Sami or Jay. And he's like, you go that way, I'll go over here. And of course, Dominic walks right past a lurking in the shadows Liv Morgan. And after they interact, literally 5 seconds later, Finn shows back up. Like he knew all that was going to happen. So there's a lot of evidence there that Balor is a big part of this as well. I'm just not sure if he's going to fit into Liv and Rhea or Priest and Gunther or both. Not really totally sure. But it's going to be fun finding out, and we're going to find out together on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. So if you guys don't mind, before you go, hit that thumbs up button for me on your way out the door. I will put a link up to Saturday's watch along and Sunday's watch along here tonight. So keep a lookout for that. Within the next, 10 or so hours, I'm going to go to work, get some work done, come home tonight, and I'll get the rest of my weekend YouTube chores done. And those links will be ready to rock for you. And I am very much looking forward to joining you guys 48 hours from now as we sit here and watch SummerSlam 2024 together. Looking very much forward to it. Thank you to everyone for joining us on this Thursday afternoon for the predictions. You guys are always the best for making sure you're here when I come up midweek to do random stuff. I appreciate it very much, and I will catch all y'all on Saturday. Take care. Peace.